Hmm. 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 They thought they were. They thought they were getting a sequel. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today is Turkey Day, which is ironic considering the fact we're talking about the newest Robin Hood movie. Now, I have to say this. I can applaud movie studios for trying new things or trying something different with existing franchises, especially ones that movie after movie after movie have been made out of. I mean, they've tried different looks at Romeo and Juliet or Three Musketeers multiple times. And Robin Hood is no exception. I mean, we've had the Errol Flynn movie. We've had the Disney one, Prince of Thieves, Men in Tights making fun of Prince of Thieves. Then they tried to make it all real and stuff with the Russell Crowe one. And then we got this one. This one seems to have taken, for the most part, what people didn't like about a lot of the other ones and decided, yeah, we're going to use that stuff. The way this story plays out is you have the sheriff, played by Ben Mendelsohn, and he's sending out draft letters to anybody he wants to basically steal property from. So he sends, by the way, Robin of Locksley, played by Taron Egerton, at the very first of the movie, meets and falls in love with Maid Marian. I'm sorry, just Marian. They don't call her Maid Marian in this, just Marian. And he gets sent off to war, and he's gone for 4 years, and he's fighting in the Crusades, which, by the way, this movie says, I don't remember when this all happened, but it's the Third Crusade, so, I mean, if you looked up the Third Crusade, you can kind of figure out when this is happening, I guess. I think they said this so they could be a little lax on maybe things like dialogue and maybe some types of items of clothing and things like that. I mean, this isn't present day Robin Hood, because there is kings and castles and swords and bow and arrows and crossbows and things like that. But I think they wanted to just be a little lax on that stuff, not worry about the history, so to speak. But anyway, Robin gets sent off to war and is gone for 4 years. And when he's over there, he ends up fighting Jamie Foxx's character, who we'll get to in a second. He fights him over during the war, but then they capture Jamie Foxx's character and Jamie Foxx's character's son. When they're going to execute Jamie Foxx's character's son, Robin steps in because he's seen enough bloodshed. He doesn't think they should be murdering these people when they're unarmed. Fighting them is one thing, but if they're unarmed and captured, they're just killing them anyway. And Robin steps in. Well, the son gets killed anyway, but Jamie Foxx's character appreciates what Robin tried to do. They take Robin back to England after almost what seems like should be a mortal wound. They take him back to England, and Jamie Foxx's character stows away on the boat, and they end up meeting later in the film. Well, anyway, with Jamie Foxx's character, those of you that have seen Prince of Thieves remember Morgan Freeman's character, Azim. So I'm thinking, look, I didn't look up anything. I mean, I'm looking at the IMDb page now, and I know the character's name of Jamie Foxx's character now, but I never looked at it before. I try not to look up too much about movies before I see them. And I'm thinking, oh, he's playing Azim, or a character like Azim, borrowing that from Prince of Thieves. Well, no, 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 no. Well, when he tells Robin his name, it's something that Robin can't pronounce. It's like 2 or 3 names that are hard to pronounce, and Robin is fumbling all over him, and Jamie Foxx's character goes, well, I'll just tell you the translation of it. It's John. So Jamie Foxx is Little John. And by the way, Jamie Foxx's character, Little John, they never call him Little John, but he is Little John. He loses a hand really early in the movie for no reason whatsoever. It plays into like 2 jokes in the movie. Other than that, he doesn't have a hand. It doesn't matter. So it was kind of unnecessary. But anyway, so yeah, Jamie Foxx is Little John. Okay, fine. You're trying something different. Still, that it was kind of weird. It's just like, oh, these names mean John. Okay, fine. So they plot together to start stealing money from the Sheriff of Nottingham, which is Ben Mendelsohn, and that should disrupt whatever plans he has, which start to come to fruition, what he's trying to do throughout the movie. And also, there's other characters with their own plans, which Marion and Friar Tuck have they're trying to start a rebellion. But it's just bits and pieces. They're looking for evidence of the sheriff doing things wrong. And also, just so you know, the church is the enemy in this. The only person that has any real holy convictions is Friar Tuck. The rest of the church, evil. We see the cardinal is as high as it goes, which of course, this plot alone kind of made me think of Disney's Three Musketeers. So I feel like it was borrowing from that a bit. And what's crazy, though, is we don't even hear anything about a king. Not the king, not the king's name. The fact that there is a king, we don't hear about this until, I don't know, 2/3 into the movie, because it plays into the plot. It's like, it would have been nice if they would establish that this land even had a king. I mean, you kind of assumed, but, I mean, think about it. I know Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves cut out Prince John, but this one don't even mention the king or the prince or anybody until like 2/3 into the movie. It's like the church has started the Crusades, and they didn't even consult a king for it. Oh, well, I'll give you my soldiers. The plot's a mess. Let's put it that way. So you got Marion and Friar Tuck wanting to start a rebellion, and it comes to find out that because this movie needed a love triangle, because all movies apparently need a love triangle, you have Marion apparently heard that they announced that Robin was dead like 2 years after he was gone, even though he was still alive and well for 2 more years. And she apparently has moved on because she is now with Will Scarlet, played by Jamie Dornan, which I know we just talked about Jamie Dornan. If you watched my review of A Private War, I'm not saying he's bad in this or anything, but everyone in this is just, all they can kind of do is try. And anyway, he's Will Scarlet, so and his character is kind of he's a wannabe politician. He wants to be able to talk his way to the bigger table with the sheriff and everything. So he's trying to play the politician for the people, but he wants to be in the higher position. He's like a politician nowadays, and I'm pretty sure this is not being subtle. So there's all your pieces, and Robin and John start to steal money, and basically everything that he does with the money, he first gives the money to Marion, and he overhears Marion saying, I wish he would give it to the people instead. So that inspires Robin to give it to the people. It's for love, everybody. And so they have this whole love triangle thing, and you kind of know that either Will Scarlet is either going to be, he's either going to redeem himself and die, because he's a political a-hole. I mean, you can tell as the movie goes along. You can tell he's a political a-hole. He's either going to redeem himself and die, or he's gonna live long enough to become the villain, as they say. We'll get to that. So there's that. So everything that Marion pretty much wants Robin Hood to become, he becomes. She basically ends up talking him into being the leader of the rebellion, and it's just okay, whatever. The plot's just moving along, and when it comes to the action's fine, but you've seen the trailer. There's a lot of like Zack Snyder type slowdown. There's a lot of bow and arrow shooting, because it seemed like, I don't even remember hardly anyone swinging a sword. There was a few knives being used, but a lot of people were using crossbows and arrows. They were really accentuating arrows in this movie. So as the plot's moving along, they have a training montage where John is teaching Robin how to fire arrows. So apparently he becomes an arrow master in like a day. At least it seems that way, because they wouldn't have had a ton of time to train as the plot was going. As the plot goes along, the Cardinal visits, and this is where I started to wonder, are they really thinking this? And I'll get to what I'm saying here in a minute. Are they really thinking about doing this? The Cardinal shows up, and it's F. Murray Abraham. And I'm like, okay, I love F. Murray Abraham. But are they really getting him? Did they bring him into this now? They're introducing the big bad, which is the Cardinal, right? You think it's the sheriff, of course, but it ends up being the Cardinal. He's like the big bad. He's the man in charge. And I'm like, are they really thinking they're going to get more than one movie out of this? And so it goes along, and the rebellion happens. And Will Scarlet kind of goes along with it. He's like, fine, I'll fight with you. And you're thinking, nah, that's too easy. And yeah, he fights with him for a second, but then he sees Robin and Marion kiss. And of course, grr, I'm going to be the bad guy now. So as the movie's going along, Robin has to get away, and John gives himself up, and during him giving himself up, he pledges a personal death grudge for the sheriff, and of course that comes true in the end, because he finds a way to sneak in and put on this uniform, nobody noticing he only has one hand, because Robin ends up having to give himself up, but then that's whenever they find a way to kill the sheriff. So, ta-da, they've won the day, and they've stolen all the money that was going to pay to fulfill this plot, which was paying the opposing side of the Crusades to start a war with England. And yeah, And they were going to use that to take over the throne. Like I said, they finally mentioned that there was actually a king who we never see or hear about, Prince John or any of it. And they all escape, of course, to Sherwood Forest, stealing the ending from the Russell Crowe one, where this is how we became outlaws. Now, there's going to be another movie, right? Wink, wink. So, that's how the movie kind of ends. It's like, oh, they've gotten away, but then it cuts away and comes back, and it's like, oh, they are doing this, aren't they? Will Scarlet becomes the new sheriff, sequel baiting us. And I couldn't help but laugh. I had to contain myself in the theater because there actually was a few people in there watching it, and I didn't want to be a jerk. But, you know, he's holding up the paper. You know, we're going to bring this crook in. And, of course, Robin's on the rooftops and fires an arrow and hits it. Why he didn't fire an arrow right through Will Scarlet's head, I don't know. But anyway, again, sequel baiting. So, the fact that this movie is what it was, I get that they wanted to try something different. But this movie just said, well, we need to make sure we fit in all these parts. And they just didn't fit them in very well. I wanted to like this movie. I thought the action was fine, but it wasn't anything special. One thing I did wonder was there was a lot of times arrows were flying at the screen. Now, I know we didn't have any 3D showings around us, but I wonder if they planned on this movie being a 3D movie, because there was a lot of times there was things that you would be like, oh, yeah, that's flying towards the screen. I wonder if they intended for that to look like it was flying towards me. So, but yeah, I could see with the pieces they had in this, with having Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx and Jamie Dornan attached to this movie, and F. Murray Abraham as the villain, I could see that they maybe wanted to plan a franchise for this. I mean, if you did end it right here, especially introducing a new sheriff, you're planning a sequel. But the ratings that this one's getting, I haven't seen the audience score, but I don't see this getting another movie made. I don't know how well it's doing. I'm looking at the audience score right now. Why not? Yeah, 55% of audiences out of 1,000 some reviews, and 13% on the critic side. Now, again, I don't take tons of stock in Rotten Tomatoes, but I do like to see. I use it as kind of a pulse. And after seeing this movie myself, I get it. I get that they wanted to try it, and I applaud them for trying it. But, man, this movie is just a mess that's hard to sit through, that you can try different things with these characters, and you could probably succeed, but you got to try a little harder. On this one, I hate to say it, you missed the mark. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've seen here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about this movie, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm Geno Reynolds from The Real Geno.